We'll call the meeting to order. I invite you to join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Kolpak? Here. Epcorn?
Here.
Strand?
Here.
Turnberg?
Here.
Mahoney?
Here. Tonight we are highlighting the Fargo Public Library. Our library is one of the city's greatest institutions. It is a place where kids discover the joy of reading. It's where job seekers find resources and support. It's where lifelong learners can find books that open up new worlds of knowledge. Every day, the library's dedicated staff breathes life into our 3 branch locations. Fargo's librarians organize free events every week, events that bring our community together. Our librarians spark curiosity, guide discovery, and welcome our residents with open arms. I encourage everyone to get a library card and join the Summer Reading Challenge. We will now show a video that spotlights our library's work.
The role of the library in the city is to be that resource for folks that either it's just recreational reading and resources or lifelong learning, but also public spaces and access to technology, and to meet that broad view of the community that they desire to see at the library. We have 3 locations. Northport branch opened in 2006. It is in the Northport shopping area up there by Hornbacher's, and it is very reminiscent of a small town storefront library. The main library here, obviously, full-service main library with library administration, opened in the spring of 2009, and then the Dr. James Carlson Library down on 32nd Avenue opened in 2007, full-service branch. 2024 was a record year for us. A real growth in our collection in terms of circulation is e-content, e-audiobooks and e-books. That has just been growing like 25% over year after year.
I think the Fargo Public Library's role in the community here is providing a safe and free place to access information in whatever form that is, whether it's the latest mystery novel or using the computers we have here to go online and connect through email or applying for jobs, and creating a sense of community through our programming that we offer.
We hear a lot of people saying, well, I didn't know that you could do that at the library. I didn't know that the library had that. So whether it's the fact that we check out video games and board games, that we have things like Notary that's free, we have copying and printing, of course. There's always things every day that we're really surprised that people don't realize we do. We also have a lot of events and activities that are happening. So we have lots of things for all ages, from birth through senior citizens. We also offer a lot of resources as far as databases or community resources that you can access. We offer meeting rooms for people if they need a meeting room. And of course, we just offer a place for people to gather and be, whether it's a family or a group, and spend time interacting with each other and getting the help that they need.
Public support is so important for the Fargo Library. There are so many people that stop by here every day that I interact with who are so grateful for the services we provide, whether it's answering questions when completing applications online, or looking for the book that they really want to check out, that they've been looking for the latest thing in the series and really want that, and all of the programming that we offer the people who regularly attend. And we need that support from the public to be able to keep providing these services to people, that they'll have this library that they love.
In an age where everything's becoming more expensive, household budgets, if you want to hold the line, take advantage of what we have to offer. You know, it's there for you. You're a citizen of Fargo, come and get a card. You can obviously sign up for a card at any of the 3 locations. You can do it online and really take advantage of all the resources that are there for you.
Tonight, we will present the Fargo Rising Star Award to a recipient chosen by the leadership at the Fargo Public Library. The award goes to Danny Leopold. Danny is a librarian who has served the city of Fargo for 4 years. She started in 2021 as a library associate at the main library and transferred to Northport Library about a year after that. Last July, she was promoted to branch services librarian for Northport, where she oversees day-to-day operations, managing and training library associates. She provides the highest level of customer service, helping patrons find books they will enjoy based on their interests and reading preferences. She encourages the use of library materials and services through creative placement and displays at Northport Library. She helps with designing posters, social media, graphics, and signage for the library and its events. Danny has shown great initiative with her positions at the library, seeking out new roles and more responsibility. Congratulations, Danny. You are committed to public service, makes you a Fargo Rising Star. Is there a motion to approve the order of agenda, continuing items 43 on the regular agenda to July 7th at 5:05 p.m. on 2025? That's a move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And please note that if you are here to speak on item 43, we will not open public hearing on this item as it's been continued to July 7th. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the June 9th, 2025 regular meeting?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Is there a motion to approve consent items 1 through 37? Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Kolpak. Aye. Turnberg.
Aye.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Strand.
Yes.
Mahoney.
Aye. Regular agenda. 2025 legislative session report. Mike Redlinger and Terry Efforts to speak for us.
Legislative session and throughout the interim on a really good relationship to try advance Fargo's positions and really position Fargo for the best success possible. A real collaborative approach, again, this past legislative session, partnering with Terry and her team at Integrity Public Affairs. She really helps us as a staff as well as the commission stay connected to what's happening in Bismarck. And we're really able to leverage the best of our team with the team that's on the ground there in Bismarck to do the best work we can to advance the interest of Fargo. Also want to take an opportunity to thank the North Dakota League of Cities staff as well. We partner with them pretty extensively. A very, very busy session. These sessions go by so quickly, and they feel when you're in it that they're going a little slow, but they really, really go quickly, and we really need to be there and be present both with our staff, with the League of Cities staff, as well as the services of Terry and Integrity Public Affairs. So just really want to thank everybody for being a part of our process again this session for 2025. Want to acknowledge our staff and thank you, commissioners, too, for your efforts and for being out there. I know there were some trips involved as well for some of you. So with that, Terry's just here really with an informal presentation. Happy to answer any questions of the commission. And we're just, again, really appreciative of everything she's done for us. So please join me in welcoming Terry Efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. This is my second session as a Special Assistant City Attorney for the City of Fargo, working with you on your legislative matters. This was a unique session. They all have kind of their own flavor. I think everybody knows what the topic of the day was of course tax reform this session. That was really the vacuum that sucked all of the air out of the room on most things. But this session, there were 1,089 bills introduced. There are actually an additional 700 bills that were drafted but never introduced. And it left Legislative Council, which has had some turnover in the last couple of years, really scrambling to try and service everybody the best they could with that many bill requests coming forward. We in the city of Fargo, between the staff, the commission, Mr. Redlinger, we monitored or supported or opposed around 80 bills. It's kind of in flux, and of course the number changes as bills are passed or they fail. And the advocacy for Fargo really focused on infrastructure funding, protecting local control, strengthening public safety, and shaping policy on transportation, taxation, and governance. With the growth of Fargo, of course, these issues can change even within the short time of session, which is biennial and limited to 80 days. I anticipate that we'll probably see that format change next session. Every session they try and push for annual sessions, and they garner a few more votes every session. And so I would say it's probably only one or two more sessions before we get to that point. This week, legislative management on Thursday will meet and then assign all of the interim committees. All the legislators have put in their preference, and so they will be assigned to an interim committee, and they will be in charge of studying the 47 interim studies that have been chosen. 20 of them were mandatory, 27 of them were chosen. I've already had a chance to speak to some staff because one of them is related to transit. And so we're going to make sure that Fargo has a seat at the table and can provide input to the Legislative Interim Committee to shape any policy that comes forth from that report. So the way that this worked this session is you engaged with me for a full contract, which spans through the interim. We had weekly meetings with Commissioner Kolpak, Mayor Mahoney, and City Administrator Redlinger. And so every week we would meet and discuss what was on the calendar, what we were going to support or oppose or just monitor and take a position if need be. That did result sometimes in the mayor or Commissioner Kolpak coming out to Bismarck to testify. There were some good wins and some things we got close that didn't go through. In the infrastructure, water, and transit, I would like to point out that there was a phenomenal effort from the city of Fargo to really organize all of the major cities that were facing transit budget shortfalls. And we did end up with a great group of people between grant, turned it into paratransit money, but they did leave a study intact so that we can take a look at it. It's going to be imperative to be at the table for that because, of course, with the uncertainty of how federal funding will look, it's going to impact the city of Fargo, especially since they've had that designation change related to their urban status at the federal level. We, of course, always track water, something that's near and dear to my heart because, full disclosure, I also represent Garrison Diversion and LAWA during the session. And so that's something that we usually, as a city of Fargo, keep a close eye on. We were able to add Bernie, which is, of course, Mayor Mahoney's favorite sidekick to the LAWA board. So that was a win for us as well. The local control and home rule authority, of course, there were some issues that hit close to home in Fargo, specifically with the voting method that the city had chosen and now must, of course, pivot away from. There was no amount of lobbying that really could have changed the outcome of that because even within the Fargo area, a lot of the legislators voted in support of doing away with the voting structure. And that's something that the Secretary of State actually pointed out to us in a meeting. And he said, listen, I mean, this is also a problem within your area because some of your local legislators voted to abolish the voting method. And so I don't think it's any failure on anybody's part within the city. I think that there was a real appetite to change based on the way that the votes came down, even with the local legislators. Public safety and transportation, there were a couple bills. 1229 is that one that comes to mind. I had a great chance to work with Chief Zabulski over the session, and he made several appearances. It's like every time I turned the corner, there was a police officer waiting for me, and it was Zabulski. So he came out and testified on several bills. I think that there was a great impact. There really is a lot of support for improving public safety across the state. And so I think that there were some real wins there. Tax reform, this was the main flavor of session. House Bill 1176 started off with the 3% caps. There was conversation throughout the entire session about where that number was going to end up. Working closely with the League of Cities, which I'll echo what City Administrator Redlinger said. They're phenomenal to work with. They said, is it 3? Is it 3.5? And then really the number came back to 3. That bill went through a large journey and a lot of different proposals, and then it came back and largely looked like it did when it was initially introduced. And so I think that there was a little bit of a probably frustration from the governor's office, because they said, let's make this the first bill that gets out and we can get it signed and we can do real tax reform. And then it ended up taking on all these different iterations, and then it largely looked the same when it got done. One thing that I have heard from legislators and the governor's staff is, because this is new policy and 3% caps is something that we have never dealt with in the state before, is to really take a close look at how it impacts you at the different levels, even down to the departmental level, and start coming up with ideas to improve the process, because tax reform is going to be something that is brought up at the next session and the session after that, because it was such a big change to begin with, and they're going to need to know how it impacts the largest city and also the smallest cities in the state as well. So I encourage everybody on the commission and the department heads behind me to really keep a close eye, and if there's any ideas you think to improve on that, please jot them down, email them to me, because it's going to be a work in progress as we head into next session. Again, I touched on the legislative studies. If there are any studies of the 47, it's a publicly available document. If there are any that any of the commissioners want to take interest in and get updates on, or any of the department heads, please contact me. We can coordinate reaching out to the interim committee that it will be assigned to on Thursday as well, just to kind of close it out here, and then I'll answer any questions that you might have. The meetings that the city of Fargo conducts with their local legislators are phenomenal. And I think you need more of them, because you're never going to catch everybody, because of course legislators are busy people. If you could hold more of them and get more of the city, I should say expand it a little bit to get the greater Cass legislators as well, I think it would be a great idea. If you look just west of us, we've got the Castleton area, where those 3 legislators, Weber, Worry, and Pyle, they were all committee chairmen, and they take a strong interest in Fargo City issues. So I think maybe just expanding the group slightly to garner more of the local area around Fargo would be useful, and do more of them. I mean, quarterly is what I would suggest, but I know that that's a large lift. I had city commissioners from other cities that I just know personally call me and ask me, hey, did you help set this up? How did this work? This is a great idea. They wanted to know more about it. And so you guys really were setting an example for other cities in North Dakota, because they want to try and do the same thing. The legislators are going to continue dividing themselves as the GOP party does kind of take on 2 different tracks. And so I think we're going to see more and more legislators come in using the non-traditional route of just gathering signatures and not going through the convention process as well. So it's something to keep an eye on, because it's just the reality of how the GOP is going to work moving forward. I have heard, I haven't looked at their financials myself, but I've heard that they have been operating at a deficit recently because of some of the changes in the direction of the party. So because they are a supermajority, keep an eye on them, because there's always going to be new news every day. I think that it would be well served in Fargo to adopt a formal bill positioning process, and using the city commission vote or a did subcommittee to determine an official support or opposition stance, and then sticking to it. We did run into a situation where I believe most of the city commissions supported an idea and a bill out there that had significant funding to it, but then we had one commissioner that didn't agree with it, that was calling legislators directly and undermining some of the work that's being done to try and get that passed, even though a majority of the commissioners did support the idea. So I think to avoid that, you could come up with an official stance or a bill positioning process, and that would take care of it. And it's just a suggestion, of course. I'm not gonna complain if there's a little bit of dissension. You guys are a wide, varied group that I enjoy watching. So I think that holding pre-session legislative briefings in the late fall is a great idea. Continue on that as well. And then if there are ideas for bills, speaking again about transit, because it's one that we really worked on this year and we didn't get it quite across the finish line. I think coming up with those ideas for legislation earlier and identifying sponsors earlier would be well served for us as well. I have a lot of respect for Boucher. Unfortunately, I think we probably needed somebody in the majority party to be the prime sponsor of that bill, and it possibly would have gotten a little more traction. And so I'm hoping that we can identify perhaps a different legislator to help us get that wonderful idea across the finish line next time. That's really all I have for you at this point. I promised Julie I wouldn't hold her up too much longer here,
Terry.
so I'll answer any questions.
Couple questions. Seems to be there's great interest in the City of Fargo Commission and how to elect the commissioners. There's wanting the primary. Is there any of that effort throughout the state? I mean, every other city in the state has June elections for city, county, park board, school board. Why is there such an interest in how the City of Fargo's elections are run? Is that just coming from certain people, or is there something else in the state where people have been frustrated with the amount of votes either the mayor or the commissioners get?
I think there's a couple of different reasons that there was such a magnifying glass on the city of Fargo. One, because you are the largest city, and so I think that there was this fear of if Fargo's doing it, how many more cities are going to fall in under the same, voting method. And so I think your size was one thing. I also think that because you guys are the most diverse city commission in the state as well, that probably is another reason. I mean, just to be completely honest, I think that's another reason.
The other issue is that we're going to have issues with the 3% cap, and I think the commission would like us to be actively involved in any kind of committee that meets to discuss that, and to have Sue Thompson talk to it as well. It does handicap our ability to give services, and I guess we'd like to be at the table to visit, and I don't think we're going to want to wait 2 years. I think we're going to have to get to the table early. I think on the transit question, Commissioner Strand, I mean, we're going to want, the transit is a huge issue in our community. We're going to want to be very aware of when the meetings are and to contribute to those conversations. And law enforcement, we did well. I would say that in Red River water supply, we came out better than we expected, so that was very good.
Identify would be helpful because I'm still in the Capitol every time there's legislators there meeting, and so we can pass those ideas along.
Any questions or comments? Commissioners, Commissioner Strand?
Thank you. Terry, I have a question, then I have something further to follow up on. Help me understand, what will the term limits, how will they impact the faces we're seeing in the legislature going forward?
So individuals will begin terming out after this next 2-year period. And so we are going to see a rapid turnover. There's already been some turnover. So, I mean, we saw 36 new faces, I believe it was this session, but we're going to see a large loss of knowledge. We also have an aging state workforce. And so a lot of the bureaucrats that are really the subject matter experts in these areas, they're retiring soon as well. And so we're going to see a lot of new faces, a lot of cyclical thinking. Even though an idea has been trashed 2 sessions ago, it's going to resurface, and then we're going to have to do this exercise of why it won't work. And so we're going to see the process slow down even further, in my mind.
And continuing, we can't talk much to each other with quorum rules and meetings and all those criteria that we follow statutorily. But you mentioned something I'm not familiar with and I haven't heard before. Help me understand better. We had a proposal going forward where one member of this board was differing in legislating advocacy. Did that happen?
Yes, from my understanding, there was a proposal out there for the Deflection and Diversion Center. And I believe, from what I understand, there was a majority of the city commission that supported that, but I heard that one of the city commission members had placed strategic phone calls to some legislators advocating against the idea.
As a citizen or as a commissioner?
I was not privy to the conversation itself, so I couldn't speculate on that.
That's something we should follow up on because we have policies internally affecting that we need to adhere to, whatever that was. I don't know. But if that happened, if that's the case, we had this a few years back where a commissioner was going out to Bismarck, and it was very clear that individual had to advocate individually commission.
Yes, and of course, that does happen quite often. If they were advocating on their personal beliefs, then of course that is fine, but it's just making sure that line is clear.
Mayor, could we look into that and just make sure that we followed our policies?
Sure. Any other discussion? Thank you. Thanks
Thank you so
good
much for
work
the
you
time.
do. Appreciate it. We're now going to the public input. So with item 39, hearing section 5307 Federal Transportation Administration Grant Preliminary Program for projects in 2025. Julie Bummelman to explain.
Oh, thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. This is a technicality, our 5307. I'm probably the only one in the room other than Susan that knows what that is. That's our operating grant that we have made available to us by the feds. So every year it comes out in the Federal Register. And this year they only allocated 5/12 of it, which is when I was here in February. And they have since brought forward the full amount. So the program of projects, as you see, lines out all the different areas that we're going to spend and what funding we're going to spend. So for operating and at what levels, so 50/50, that's generally our operating breakdown. 80/20, some of our expenses are eligible for that at the capital rate of 80/20. And it's all spelled out in there. This particular allocation is a portion, like I was saying, of our 2025 monies that was not brought forward in February. And it also includes a small amount that was carried over from fiscal year 2020. And then we do have some funds in there that we did a fund swap with the city of Moorhead. So the total amount is in there, and then what the federal share is and what the local share is. I did not receive any comments from anyone. This has been published for the last 2 weeks in the legals.
But it's $3 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
3.6.
A little over, yep.
Yeah. And when President wishes to speak to the grant preliminary program for the projects in 2025 in transit. Anybody wanting to speak to the transit? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Strand.
Yes.
Kolpak.
Aye.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Turnberg.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. Now we have sections 5310 and 5339 Federal Transportation Administrative Grant Preliminary Program projects in 2025. Julie to explain as well.
Yes, thank you. These are capital funds that are made available again by Federal Transit Administration. The 5310, we use that for our mobility management functions that we have, including funding a position that we have within the department. And the 5339, those are also capital funds. Those we use towards purchasing equipment and anything that's bus related or bus equipment that are part of the budget. So that's what this is just a separate hearing, but the projects are outlined in there and what it is we're purchasing.
Is there anyone present who wishes to speak to this transportation grant? Anybody wanting to speak? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved session. Roll call vote, please.
Strand.
Yes.
Kolpak. Aye. Pepcorn.
Aye.
Turnberg.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye.
Thank you.
Item 41 has been withdrawn. Item 42 is going to be continued till 7/7/25. Ian, do we have to vote on that to continue it?
Yes.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Kolpak. Aye. Turnberg.
Aye.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Strand.
Yes.
Mahoney.
Aye. Item 40, for C alcoholic beverage license to a doing business, or DBLD, as Little Jimmy's to be located at 2603 Kirsten Lane South, Suite 103. Steve Sprague to explain.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. The Class C license, again, is our beer only on sale license. Does not require any food sales, and it does allow the applicant to have a physical bar. In the background check, there were 4 items that were quite dated. They were from 2013 or newer, and so they did not rise to the level that was a concern to the police department. And then from our Liquor Control Board, we had a 4-0 vote. One of the members was not able to attend to vote.
So when you say 2013 or later, you said 2013 or newer?
prior to 2013.
Thank you, sir. Is anyone present wishes to speak to this application? No one present wishing to speak. I'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So my understanding, and I'd have to ask the police department to come up and tell you what they're looking for, but they ask the applicant, are they telling us the truth? Are they telling us everything? You know, I don't think it's so much that there was a DUI back in 2005 or something like that. I think it was they're looking for truthfulness, but Assistant Chief is here and he could probably answer that better.
The assistant chief is here maybe, but I'm just thinking maybe we loosen that up a little bit. We don't have to go back till people's birth dates. I'm sorry, but that's a long ways to go back in time. Maybe if we have a policy that would direct how far back we go in the future, if it's arbitrary.
Well, I'm not in a position to tell police how to do their job, so.
Is the
Travis,
assistant,
do you want to comment to that, please?
because we have 2005, 2006 incidents.
Certainly, as Mr. Sprague said, that basically we're just going back as far as we can go, so we can give you the information. If there's something that needs to be adjusted, that would be up to the council to figure that out.
Okay, perhaps the Liquor Control Board can have a discussion someday about this general parameter.
So if we saw DWI going several times back in that time frame, would they be denied license?
We give that information to the board for that decision. All we're doing is fact finding.
And our policy does lay out certain things are a 2-year period, 2-year kind of look back. Other things are 5 years. I think with DUIs, they're 5 years. So since those activities didn't occur
In the past, but it doesn't influence the outcome if it's within 3 5-year issues, is what you're saying.
That's
Is that correct, Dave? Is that what you guys do?
And I do believe it's felonies are the ones that's a denial, so.
That's correct.
Thank you. Commissioner Strand, any more questions?
No, thank you.
Thanks, Travis.
Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Turnberg?
Aye.
Colpack? Aye. Strand?
Yes.
Mahoney?
Aye. Item 45, application for Class W nail bar and head spa, doing business as Hera Nail and Head Spa to be located at 2701 Uptown Way, Suite 105.
Thank you, Mayor. So the Class W is a wine on sale or on-premise consumption liquor license. It does allow the physical bar, although they're not going to put a bar in, and does not require any food sales. Now, we did have a 2-2, there were no issues in the background check. The Liquor Control Board voted 2-2, so it comes to you with no recommendation on this one. The reason for the vote, a couple of the members of the Liquor Control Board feel that the alcohol should be in alcohol establishments and not in places like nail salons and that type of thing. So I've looked a little bit, and we have 2 of the businesses that have either the beer or the wine license that have only alcohol, and they don't have anything else. There are 8 businesses that have beer or wine that the alcohol is secondary or a subsidiary to their normal operation, their main operation. 5 of those 8 are nail or hair salons. So in the past, we have approved these, and Commissioner Pepcorn and the other member of the liquor board that voted yes for it, they pointed out that we've approved these in the past.
So anyone present wishes to speak to this license? Anyone present wishing to speak? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Commissioner Pepcorn, you want to explain your
So,
vote?
Mr. Chair, just to reiterate what Steve said, it's the precedent. We've already done this, and they do have to follow the same server training rules. They do get checked, and so all those things are. But I totally support. So that was why it was 2-2. But I support it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mayor, if this had been defeated at the committee level, what would have happened then?
It would still come to you for making the final decision.
It would.
Yeah, City Commission makes the final decision on issuance.
So it wouldn't be an appeal of a denial?
No, it would not. The recommendation from Liquor Control would be, not to approve it, and then the City Commission would have the opportunity to review it.
Good decision, Commissioner Pepcorn.
Roll call vote.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Colpack? Aye. Strand?
Yes.
Turnberg?
Aye.
Mahoney?
Aye. Thank you. Hearing on dangerous building located at 1102 First Avenue South, explanation by Sean Randick.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm here to present our findings on the dangerous building at 1102 First Avenue South. I'll just wait a second. There we go. Okay, so this is a 1,900 square foot, two-story wood frame structure, previously used as a duplex. The owner is AJS Ventures LLC. It was constructed in 1890, and the taxes have not been paid for 2024 yet. The list of damages include exterior siding, windows, doors, all have been removed. The exterior finishes have been removed. We've had multiple squatter complaints. There's junk. The water meter and electric meters have both been removed. They did have a demolition permit that has expired. We did give them one 30-day extension on that demo permit, and they have chosen not to do anything with that as well. And we have 11 calls for service in 2025 alone. Those calls for service are trespassing, squatter activity, theft, burglary, and impaired persons on the property. It appears to meet at least 7 of the 10 criteria for a dangerous building. The timeline for it is this started back in February 6, 2023, when they looked at remodeling the property back into another 3-unit apartment. They came in with their drawings and stuff, and they decided not to move forward with that at that time. They did do an interior demo later in July of 2023 to try and push it forward so that they could remodel it at that time. Somewhere around there it switched hands, and we did a consultation inspection, but no other inspections after the demo of the interior. In March of 2024, the demo permit for the inside was, another demo permit was issued for the entire structure. In between there, 23 and 24, we were talking to the new owner, and they were trying to find a path forward to be able to remodel the building, but there was some stipulations that since it wasn't a 2-unit building, it was a 3-unit building, we had to use the International Building Code as opposed to the International Residential Code. It has stricter standards to it, and they didn't feel like they were going to be able to meet those standards, so they decided to demolish at that time. They demoed the exterior of it, took all the siding, windows, all that stuff off, and just left the bare wood, and then kind of left it sit for a while. We did an investigative walkthrough in October of 24, and again, there was no more inspections on the property after that. There was no more movement on the property. In November of 24, we received a complaint about the property and the state that it was in, and another complaint in January of 25, and we investigated it. We also received another complaint in March of 25 and investigated it. That one had some odd smells, and there were people that were worried that somebody had passed away in there. They did not, but they did get it cleaned up. Again, in March of 25, we posted the structure as a dangerous building after receiving that last report. We contacted the owner about the demo permit, and the owner requested a 30-day extension, which we granted to him to try and get it demoed before bringing it to commission, and he, again, chose to do nothing at that point. We did send in the request for public hearing on May 26th. Again, the notice of dangerous building hearing was given out on June 6th. On June 23rd, I did meet with the owners with it. There's garbage accumulation. The garbage cans are just sitting there. There's appliances in the yard. The weeds are getting overgrown. You know, it's just kind of in a general state of disrepair and neglect at this point. Like I said, there's just garbage all over the place, and it's just not a good structure to have right as it sits. Here are the floor plans that they're going to present as their new layout for the building. What they did agree to do today when I spoke with them was they're going to clean up the yard, clean up all the junk and anything that's in the yard, and also house wrap the building to make sure that there's no more water infiltration or weather getting in there to help save the structure. They're going to get a structural engineer in to evaluate the structure and make sure that it's okay. And then they're going to submit plans within the next couple of weeks on how to meet the IBC requirements to rehab the structure. We're only asking that the City Commission do deem it a dangerous building today so that we can keep them to a timeline and we're not just sitting on this structure and having it be an attractive nuisance to the neighborhood.
Is there anyone present who wishes to speak to this? Is the owner here? Please come to the podium.
The owner indicated he wasn't going to be here tonight.
Good evening, Mayor Mahoney and Fargo City Commissioners. Thank you for this time. My name is Heather Johnson. I have enjoyed living in the Hawthorne neighborhood with my family since 2014. I am here today to express my full agreement with the Inspection Director's professional assessment regarding the structure at 1102 First Avenue South. This building is unsafe and constitutes a public nuisance. It is unfortunate that a decades-old clerical error on the part of the city is what led to this misunderstanding. However, while Mr. Stonestreet's request for an extension was granted numerous times, sadly no measurable progress has been made. Mr. Stonestreet has had more than adequate time to transform this building into something of value to our neighborhood. Instead, he has allowed it to become an unwelcome and unsafe nuisance, doing nothing to add to the property value of neighboring homes and businesses, while compromising the safety of our neighbors and the general public. I do not believe this property to be salvageable in a cost-effective manner, as suggested by the property owner. It is my opinion that neither he nor AJS Ventures LLC should be absolved of their legal responsibility to honor the directives lawfully and carefully handed down by the City of Fargo. I respectfully request the Commission grant permission to demolish this nuisance building by August 22nd of this year. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak to this? Close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Mayor, just to be clear, I think the motion is for August 23rd, 2025, and it just says 24, so just so the
thank you.
record's
I
clear.
was going to bring.
Thank you for catching that. Commissioner Strad?
Well, okay, thank you. Hadn't you indicated this would be modified, and this is?
We're not going to modify the motion because within the ordinance and stuff, it says that they either need to demolish or repair. So they have the 60 days to get their permits in place and repair the structure, or it has to be demolished by October 23rd. So they have kind of either or within the ordinance.
A complete repairer job or just beginnings?
We don't anticipate that it'll be a complete repair job. What we anticipate is that they will get their stuff, show some substantial improvements on it. And then if they have to use an extension or ask for an extension, we bring it back to the City Commission and ask for an extension. But this just gives them an opportunity to either do that or demolish. And then we can watch the project and make sure that they're actually doing something with it.
Mr. Pipcorn?
So kind of on the same line, but basically this gives them a finish time. So they still have more time, correct?
Yes.
And so, but can you say what happens then if they don't do anything by that time? Then the city does it, and then that cost goes on to the. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Okay, so what would happen is if they did not demolish the structure or repair the structure by August 23rd, or at least show some substantial improvements, the city would take over. We'd issue an RFP for a contractor to come in and raise the structure, clear the land, and then also seed it so that it could be built on in the future. We'd also have to take all the water and sewer back to the mains, things like that. So it involves a street cut. But after that, we would basically pay the upfront costs, and that would be assessed back to their property tax, and they'd have to pay it through their property taxes. So we would recoup the money.
It just seems like I feel bad for the neighbors that have to live next to that and see this. Doesn't seem like any sort of effort to get the project underway. And if there was he was saying that they can't make money if it's a 2-unit structure, but sitting there, he's not making any money on this. And then the neighbors are dealing with the problems that it's causing. And I think this is generous.
Any other comments or discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Holpack?
Aye.
Strand?
Yes.
Turnberg?
Aye.
Mahoney?
Aye. Item 47, recommendation to approve floodproof construction requirements policy and authorize staff to submit basement exemption renewal request to FEMA. Receive and file the ordinance amending sections, and I won't go through all the sections, so you can read them, but Nathan Beerbohm will explain them to us. So, Nathan?
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Wait a second here to get pulled up here. So I'm here tonight to discuss or provide a little update on the Western Cass flood insurance study that FEMA has recently completed and the basement exception renewal process that we need to go through as a result of this flood insurance completion. So you might be asking your question a little bit of what is the Western Cass flood insurance study? So for that, you have to go back in history a little bit. After the 1997 flood, FEMA identified the entirety of Cass County needing to have their floodplain maps updated. As a result, they started that process. A handful of years went on, and then the decision was made to actually split the county into two and complete two different flood insurance studies. First one was the Cass County Flood Insurance Study, what was completed in 2015. That one really concentrated on the Red River and the Wild Rice River. Tonight we're talking about the Western Cass Flood Insurance Study, so that has been continuing on even after the Red River Flood Insurance Study, or Cass County Flood Insurance Study was completed. The Western Cass Flood Insurance Study really concentrates on the Cheyenne River, Maple, and Rush Rivers, as well as various legal drains and some tributaries further west in the county. We're at a point now, though, where FEMA has issued what is called a letter of final determination on this study. They did that back in March. What that means is that all the mapping and the study is complete, and now in order to make sure their floodplain ordinances and policies and various items with floodplain management are in place and up to date. So that's why I'm in front of you tonight, since we have reviewed all our floodplain ordinances and policies and are recommending some minor modifications to them. These are necessary in order for Fargo to continue to remain in good standing with the National Flood Insurance Program, which we are a participating community. If we did not update our ordinance and policies, there's a risk that we could be suspended or even removed from the NFIP program, which of course would mean that our property, our residents would no longer be eligible to purchase flood insurance, nor would the city be eligible for any disaster recovery funds if we had a large flood. So next slide here is a map that shows where the Western Cass Flood Insurance Study actually is. So everything on the right-hand side is not being changed. So the green areas there, that is a floodplain that was done back in 2015 associated with the Cass County flood insurance. Mapping is remaining the same exactly. The two red boxes here are the areas where our city limits or extraterritorial limits fall within this Western Cass flood insurance study, and the floodplain areas within those are actually being unchanged. So in terms of our floodplain mapping, nothing is changing with this study. It's just we are within the boundaries of it, so we have to go through the process with FEMA. So what updates are we looking at? We looked at the floodplain management ordinance. There are a few items in there that we are recommending to be updated. Primarily, they are some definitions and minor things with better reflect or align with the state of North Dakota's model ordinance that they have, as well as some additional items that help clarify the requirements that we utilize in our management of the floodplain. Those items are really to help ease that implementation of those items. So again, nothing new, it's just clarifying items within the ordinance. Where we are suggesting some changes, though, are within the floodproof construction policy. If you recall, or Commissioner Pepcorn, Mayor, you may recall back in 2014, we implemented what was called the 41-foot water surface elevation inundation area. Long term there, but what that was back in 2014, there was some uncertainty on whether diversion was going to be completed or the timing of it being completed. But we did know, as a result of all the work that was being done with the diversion, that if the diversion did not move forward, our 100-year floodplain would be raised up and potentially pull additional areas into the 100-year floodplain. As a result of that, we want to make sure that any new structures built since 2014 were built at a high enough elevation that if the diversion for some reason did not move forward, that they would not be brought within that 100-year floodplain and kept the opportunity to purchase flood insurance at a lower rate. Luckily, though, we're now at a point where the diversion is moving forward, nearing completion, of course, as everyone knows. So therefore, we're recommending elimination of that 41-foot requirement, so reducing some of the requirements now that we no longer have that potential risk. So then we'd fall back to the minimum building elevations that exist today of the FEMA 100-year floodplain elevation or base flood elevation plus 2 feet. So that's the same requirement that exists today, so we'll continue to rely on that. And floodproof basements will still be required in any areas that are within the 100-year floodplain or areas removed from the 100-year floodplain, which is the minimum requirement that FEMA has. So that is a requirement that must continue to be followed. But today, though, the way the policy is written, floodproof basements were required within the 41-foot area. So we're removing the requirement, or suggesting removing the requirement of having floodproof basements within those 41-foot areas.
So will that decrease the cost of a new house?
Yes, so homes that are outside of the 100-year floodplain or areas removed from the 100-year floodplain, they will no longer be required to have a floodproof basement, which would lower the cost of that house. And then we're also looking at simplifying areas outside of that 100-year floodplain to simply just the elevation of that structure needs to be 30 inches above the adjacent street or the back of the curb at the street. So that was a long-standing practice that was in place for many years. We're just suggesting following back to that instead of some of the previous requirements today was, again, referring to that 41-foot area. And then moving to the basement exception, since we are a community that has a basement exception, which is fairly unique within the FEMA program, I think there are 26,000 communities throughout the country that participate in the National Flood Insurance Program. Of those 26,000, I believe there are 50 that have a basement exception, and actually 14 of those are in North Dakota. So it's very unique to have a basement exception. It's something that's very important for our community, though, that without this exception, no basements would be allowed on any new construction. And of course, what that means, though, is with the climate we have, we're basically already going to the depth, since the footings have to be at least 5 feet down in the ground to get below frost level, that there's very little additional costs to go a little bit deeper, create that additional living space in the basement, as well as the storm shelter protection as well, which of course, unfortunately, we saw this past weekend how important those storm shelters are.
Mayor, might I ask you a question while you're there, Nathan? People could still build slab homes.
Yes, yep. So we could still build slab.
Like you go to Florida and places, that's what they do. They don't have foundations and crawl spaces. They just have slabs. And that doesn't raise this question of cost, I think that's a relative term. You know, if you add a full basement on, you get less cost per square foot for the added footage. It's not less cost, it's just less cost per unit, isn't it?
Yes, what it provides is, you're exactly right. It adds the opportunity to add square footage in the structure at less cost, since we're already going to go down at least 5 feet down with the foundation of the structure. Even if it's a slab on grade, you're still going to have that foundation.
You still have to have a 5-foot slab, a foundation?
Because we want to make sure those footings get below the frost level. And that's maybe, if Sean's still here, he could speak to that.
I haven't heard that before.
But he's wondering if the foundation for the basement is 5 feet.
Under
if
a
it's
slab.
on slab.
Oh.
It's not, you don't have to put anything if it's on slab.
Your footings, it's because we don't want that frost to get underneath it and heave it up. If you go south, like in Florida and stuff, I know they can do a 12-inch thick and edge slab down in Georgia and Florida and stuff because they don't have frost like we do here. So.
Thank you.
John likes Florida, so he didn't remember that we have frost here, John.
Never understood this basement thing in a flood zone.
I think the thing you have to remember, what Nathan and I are talking about, there's one in which the LOMAR has to be a certain level, but we'll also put in some requirements on a flood-proof basement, which requires different than just a basement. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah. So a flood-proof basement is basically your point of risk is the top of the basement wall. So if water theoretically got up to the basement would still stay dry. And it's important to note, we've had our basement exception since 1975, and any structure that has been built with a flood-proof basement has had no failures. So there is proof in past practice that these are successful, which is why we're seeking the continued approval by FEMA on this. So to support this renewal request, we have completed a comprehensive review on our current design with the structural engineer that we utilized back in 2014 and 15. Found that there really is no significant updates needed. Actually, the updates that were included were as a result of coordinating with the Building Industry Association, or formerly known as Home Builders. Really, those updates were really to better reflect their practices today and what they're utilizing today. So again, minor updates, no actual changes to the structural design, just better implementation for actual use out in the field. And with that, I have the two recommended motions that were in your packet and stand for any questions.
Any questions? Mr. Strand.
I'm the king of dumb today, but with the diversion coming into place very soon, most of our homes won't have this issue anyway, will they? With the protection needed, flood insurance requirements?
Yes.
We're lucky to get there, good to get there, but.
Yep, so with the diversion coming, you are correct, we'll be remapped again. We'll have to go through this process again at that point, update our ordinance as appropriate, renew for our basement exception again. But yeah, our floodplain maps will be changing quite significantly. Will there potentially be some areas that will still remain in the floodplain long-term for the city as we continue to grow? Yes, there will be some of those areas as well, so that's why our basement exception will still be important to have that approval with FEMA, even at that point.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Nathan, I want to thank you for your hard work on this. There's been a really concern we've had about the basement exception and the ability for us to move and do different things. I think for the commissioners to understand this is policy change because the diversion is coming that we can make that will help decrease homeowners' costs. So we're really excited about it because for a while we thought we couldn't do this till 27, 28 or something like that. So this is very good work, so I appreciate that. Roll call vote, please.
Kolpak? Aye. Turnberg?
Aye.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Strand?
Yes.
Mahoney?
Aye. Liaison Commissioner updates. Commissioner Pepcorn.
No update.
Commissioner Turnberg.
The library always has lots of fun stuff going on, but something that is very neat, I think, coming up this week is the opening of Fargo's 1975 time capsule. That'll be Thursday, June 26th, right here at the Civic Center Plaza. 4 to 6, the time capsule opening celebration event. And then at 5 o'clock, the opening ceremony. And they'll have 70s tunes and food trucks and kids' activities. So should be fun.
I'm kind of curious what we're going to find in that time capsule.
I was 3.
We had a great police picnic last week. I think we had a great turnout. A lot of people showed up. We had a June 19th this weekend as well. City's been bustling with a lot of downtown activity, and it's worked out very well. Commissioner Kolpak.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. That's my report. It was a community police picnic. Just one slide today, but I was there too, and it was a great turnout. I really wanted to thank the community. Go to the next slide. So it held its annual police picnic. Here's some pictures here. It was a fun, well-planned event with a great turnout. As I said, there were canine demos, toy car giveaways. There's actually one more toy car that's going to be given away via social media. So go take a look at that and try to sign up for it. Free donuts, face painting, balloon animals, bouncy houses, and a lot more. And seeing all the families and friends and neighbors, connecting with our Fargo Police Department. And by the way, I'll add also our fire department were there on site, along with other first responders and community organizations. It was a really memorable evening, so thanks to everyone.
Mr. Strand.
We only have 5 people up here, okay? 3 birthdays in like this period of time. Mayor Mahoney's birthday is the 28th. And our next meeting, Commissioner Turnberg's birthday. Geez, I'm going to be out of birthdays for several months. Best wishes to all of you.
You think wards would solve that, John? Then we wouldn't have as many birthdays at
Well,
the
we
same
have to
time?
have astrological differentiations for districts.
Okay. We only have 3 resident speakers. Olivia, are you on? I'll go to in-person to see if she comes back. I have Brian Brockner. Brian, you come to this one over here? Sorry.
Hello, my name is Brian Brockner, and I've been going through, thank you for the time to speak. I've been going through troublesome times with hackers hacking my internet, my devices, and spamming emails, spam texts, and trying to get identity theft going and trying to scam me for my money and my information, credit cards, and stuff like that. And when they don't get what they want, they end up hacking my camera system and disable my camera system. And so trying to get help, I call the Fargo Police Department, and they pretty much tell me that there's nothing they can do about it because they're not equipped to handle it. And this is not only happening to me, but this is happening all across the world. People are being taken advantage of. This is a crime that's becoming more prevalent. People don't even know they're getting scammed, and it's turning into a multi-million-dollar industry where these people from different countries, or even people from Fargo, North Dakota, they take advantage of people and try to steal stuff from them through fraud and identity theft. And so what I propose is that we come up with either raising taxes or come up with a federal grant to help aid the Fargo Police Department in coming up with a cyber crimes unit to help stop this, or to, because it's already too late. Most people get scammed and they can't get their money back, and it's just becoming really bad. And it's a multi-million-dollar industry now, and they're becoming more innovative in the ways that they go about doing this. And there's no bias to which group they go after. Elderly is kind of their favorite, and then younger people who are being sextorted with AI. Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan Netterville.
I'm Ryan. I'm Shane Netterville's brother. And I took a break for my mental health and I started coming back in January. And the first meeting, there was a news article about a man walking around with a knife on his leg. Nothing was reported to the police. The second meeting, I seen how this is turning slowly into a prison with these blue lines. And I'm probably the only one that got held at that front door because someone had to make some phone calls to let me in here. And I never told him my name, but on the phone he sure knew my name when he asked the supervisor. So I had to wait out there while you guys are freely able to come in here. And I did a drawing to show people all this, and that drawing, I'm now a terrorist planning an attack and a threat. Because after that drawing I posted it on my Facebook, police showed up at my door wanting to talk, basically interrogate me or get intent out of me. I didn't answer my door. I called my PO, and then just how they came into my door is why, because they did the exact same thing they did when they killed Shane. So I locked down, I called my PO, and he said they just wanted to talk about the drawing. So this drawing is going to get me killed for some reason. And when I had our next meeting with my PO, all of a sudden I'm getting a brand new PO, and I met her at my apartment for the first time. The second time I met her on the 11th of this month, a week before I was supposed to speak at the Human Rights Committee, and my PO, Jacqueline, and 5 other officers ambushed me in the probation office and ripped everything out of my pockets. They were trying to rip my vest off and were trying to cut it off. I was not under arrest. I did nothing wrong. I have done nothing wrong. They've been acting like I was brand new there. I've been on there for a year and a half. I'm having all these several attacks from them. I left the scene where Shane died and the cop just starts waving by as he drives by. There's many
Ryan, your time is up. Sorry. Olivia Fisher, are you on virtual?
Yep, can you hear me?
Now we can. Go ahead. 2.5 minutes.
Okay, well, first of all, I think it's really disrespectful that you guys will let politicians speak over the time that's allotted, but you won't let community members who are in serious danger do so. But I'm here today to speak because I'm frustrated at the lack of communication and respect the city provides to its residents. At the last meeting on June 7th, I asked on behalf of the entire community for an update regarding the city's plans to quote-unquote end homelessness. According to the meeting on April 28th, there was supposed to be at least 55 housing units available by June 1st, which is why the commission decided to close the warming center at the end of May. But there was not a public announcement made until last Wednesday, June 18th. And as far as I'm aware from the last hour when I was trying to get connected, I did not hear an update as well during this meeting. I cannot speak fully on this as I myself just discovered the action plan today, which is incredibly frustrating considering my request via public comment and emails for any sort of update. You keep insisting that you are working together with community members to find the best solutions, yet you cannot even respond to our emails. Not to mention, how can we be sure if unhoused individuals are receiving this information from the outreach teams? Many of them don't have phones to search your website, nor access to the newspaper to find this information. From what I have been able to read through so far, it appears that only 22 units have been secured, meaning there have been no progress on the units since April 28th. There are also at least 4 housing unit projects that were delayed for so long that they have now been canceled. Meanwhile, there are still dozens of unhoused individuals with nowhere to go, even though there are plenty of empty apartments. The action plan also details that at least $132,000 in grant funding will be going towards operations at the deck. I'm glad to see Fargo officials supporting services in the downtown area amidst the blatant lies that some commissioners have spewed, but I'm also frustrated because the deck has still been shutting down unexpectedly on the weekends, leaving folks with minimal options to get out of the heat. This new funding needs to go towards more staffing because additional programs won't help if there is no one there to keep the building open. Another major concern is that Fargo PD has been seen harassing unhoused individuals downtown. They are being treated poorly simply for existing outside. Meanwhile, citizens who do not appear to be unhoused are left unbothered. It is shameful and discriminatory behavior. In fact, your action plan notes that there are racial disparities within the help that Indigenous homeless individuals receive. So if they are receiving an unequal amount of support, they are likely living unsheltered for longer periods of time, thus experiencing more police harassment. If you hadn't banned camping before you had genuine solutions in place, you wouldn't have this dilemma. If you had advocated for funding to keep the warming center open longer, people wouldn't have had to be stuck outside in those terrible storms last week.
That's all we have for public hearings tonight. We're adjourned.